Let's do a couple of housekeeping things here real quick, and we'll do that. I'm getting better at all of these things, so practice makes perfect. So, hey, welcome. I'm glad you guys could be here. So, I guess the first thing that I wanted to chat about is we had a situation where, and I don't know all the details, so I don't want to talk out of school here, but what happened was a chargeback, right? Chargebacks are, the bank frowns on them. Let me just put it that way. Good way to lose your merchant account if you have, so many chargebacks per 100,000 uses and so on and so forth. So they keep real close tabs on that. And this particular chargeback, it was because the card was used by several people, and they put orders in using one card, and then that card had one chargeback, and it wasn't for all of those orders. All of those orders were perfectly fine. It was for, from what I understand, an order, a second order or something, in mistake. Anyway, there was a chargeback, and as a result of that, the computer just shuts down everybody's account that was attached to that card, and then then you sort it out later. So it just so happened that it happened on a Sunday morning, right, when there's no sorting out. So everything is, or it happened Saturday night actually, but. And then I had a situation where one of the guys that I actually enrolled in the business, he decided not to do the business, and for whatever reason, he was still on loyalty. He was still getting his loyalty purchase, and he called the company only to find out that there wasn't a phone number. And, had he been on any of the Zoom trainings, he would have known that. But since there wasn't a phone number, he charged it back. And, that sets off, again, the bells and the whistles. And I told him, I said, hey, all you had to do was just come to me, right? So I want us to be the first line of defense. And it really is, and it behooves all of us to just kind of pay attention to all of those things. Because, the company will refund the money. That's not a question. They just don't want people going and, complaining to the credit card company, goes to the bank and doing chargebacks. So if there's a situation that we have to handle, somebody's not happy, this is like Sears, the customer is the boss, the customer is always right, and the customer always gets a refund. So, that's how I like to play it. I know that's how Dave likes to play it. So, hey guys, what I wanted to do today, this evening or tomorrow morning or whenever you happen to be watching this, is just kind of take you through a couple of things. There's a couple of things that we need to continue to talk about, and one of those is a mirage, but the other one is the velocity. Velocity is really, the speed at which something is getting done, right? So I heard a great story that Marshall Silver told, and I'll give him credit this time. The next time I'll, make it my own story. But he said that he was driving and had to pull off. It was getting late, and they pulled into a little, cracker box town, and it had a hotel, not a motel, but an hotel. The M was gone and burnt out. And he stopped there, and the motel there was a bar, and then there was a mechanic's place for cars and so on and so forth. And he said, hey, have you got a room? And the guy said, yeah. He said, yeah, they're $100. He said, $100? He said, I'd like to look at the room if you don't mind, if I'm going to pay $100. And the guy said, yeah, no problem. Just, put a deposit, put $100 bill here, and I'll give you the key, and you can go down there and go take a look at the room. So he laid the $100 down, and before Marshall could get out the door, this old boy, the motel owner, ran next to the bar, and said, "Hey, Joe, here's $100 I owe you." And Joe said, "Hey, that's great." The bartender, the owner of the bar, went to the garage and said, "Hey, Bob, here's that $100 I owe you for the repairs you did on my car." And the guy said, "Hey, yeah, that's great." And then the mechanic ran back over to the motel and gave it to a gal and says, "There's that $100 that I told you I was going to give you and for services rendered." And she then ran to the front desk and said, "Hey, here's that $100 that I owe you for that for my rooms," right? And so Marshall came back into the office and picked up his $100 and said, "No, I think I'm going to pass." Now the question is, were all of those debts satisfied? Right? Was everybody paid? Yep. The bartender, the bar owner, the mechanic, the woman that was providing services, and the motel. Everybody was paid with $100 bill. And kind of the moral to that story is that the velocity of which that money traveled, and we've got to take our conversation into making that velocity happen a lot quicker for us, and we're going to discuss some of that here this evening. So mirage, an illusion, something that appears real that isn't. And so the reason I put that in there was to discuss momentum. The industry people talk about momentum as if it's something that happens to every company that comes along. Not true. Furthest thing from the truth, quite frankly. There's different stages of growth, and they couple momentum into those 4 stages of growth. However, very, very few companies ever enter into a real momentum phase. Most of them kind of, eke along, just getting by, growing. Some companies, however, do get into a real, true momentum phase. And, again, this is kind of what the industry uses as their explanation of formulation, concentration, momentum, stabilization, that whole scenario when you hear about industry people talk about. This is the first company that I was involved in, and that certainly was and got a lot of momentum very, very quickly. Lots of millionaires created, and that was the company that I went to that cocktail party, and I found a lot of people in there making more money monthly than I was making annually in a business that I had owned for 16 years. So it was kind of depressing for me, but I paid real close attention because I knew that if those people can do it, and that's kind of the whole moral here, is that, if somebody else can do it, then you can do it too. It's just whether or not you want to do it as bad as they wanted to do it, or as badly as they wanted to do it. So, when I got started, I had no life. My business consumed, every drop of energy and oxygen that I had, and I swear, the first 2 kids that we had, I can remember coming home one time, and my wife, I met her in the kitchen, and I said, "Hey," I said, "where's those 2 kids that we had?" She said, "Oh, they grew up and they went off to college." And I said, "You're kidding me." And I said, I missed them, right? So I said, "Well, we should probably, work on having some more." And so that started a chain reaction of having more kids. So we had 3 more after that. So they're finally out of the house. Now I have a dog and horses. But growth. It can happen. and real momentum is something like this. Real momentum is when those product stories and income stories both kind of meet together. And certainly we've got the product stories. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of testimonials. And, that's what I keep talking about. The conversation now is really changing. Here's a company that I was in 1992. Here's what my genealogy looked like. I had 50 people. May of 1992, May of 1993, I had 75,000, right? My volume that month was 6.5 million. My volume went on to grow to over 20 million, just my group, not the company, but $20 million a month in volume that my team was doing. In fact, I was just, before we got started, I was talking to one of the guys in Slovenia, who was part of that whole organization. So here's what's happened in Valentis, and again, it's just part of the story, right? I'm telling people all the time now, we've got a company that has grown 900% over the course of the last 12 months, and from 700,000 to 7 million. That's a great way to introduce what it is we're doing to your friends, right? Kind of, pique their interest, if you will. I think you guys have seen this. This is just kind of, what happened in the very beginning. I grabbed a hold of Rick's income and John's income, and I was just doing a little scenario through a few weeks of checks up until over Christmas and January. And as you can see, John's check, because of the size of his organization, being the master distributor, went from 4,700 a week back in May of 2018 to 62,000 a week, crazy. Here's what really happened to me, 1,000% growth, right? From 3,000 to 33,000. So huge growth. And it really is just getting started. You guys have seen this a million times, but what I really want to get to is not only what the future looks like, but the conversation. And I really want us to hone in on that, the talking points of the conversation, because that conversation has changed from where it used to be. If you recall, we always talked about, asking the three questions, right? Asking those three questions. Those three questions is, hey, Bob, do you drink coffee? Yeah, Chuck, I do. Why? Well, hey, Bob, have you ever thought about losing any weight? Yeah, Chuck, I'm fat as ever. I'd like to lose some weight. I can't ever lose any weight. So I'm overweight and I drink coffee. Why do you want to know? Hey, Bob, I'm glad that you asked. I joined a company called Valentis, who has a weight loss coffee, and I'd like to get you some samples. And, that's kind of how that conversation went, right? And certainly we're not going to stop, sampling product out to everybody, but we are going to speed the conversation along, and we're going to do it a little bit differently, right? I found a great way for us to make money. I mean, right away, you're going to grab somebody's attention when you're starting to talk about money. Let's face it, nobody makes enough money, nobody has enough time, and everybody would like to have more free time, more financial freedom, and more time freedom. So, you hit the nail right on the head when you talk about, hey, I found a great way for us to make some money. The company's called Valentis. Have you ever heard of them? No. 99.9% of the people right now will say no. A year from now, those numbers will change. 2 years from now, those numbers will change. And more and more people will have heard about Valentis. So they're a 5-year-old direct sales company that introduced a weight loss and now a weight loss cocoa, right? And people are loving it. It actually works. We've got thousands of testimonials, and I'm going to get you a website so that you can go and take a look at that. And then let me tell you what happened to me. I lost 9 pounds. I lost 18 pounds. I'm now down 40 pounds. And, it's awesome. So The company's grown from $700,000 in sales to $7 million in sales in 12 months. They've grown like 900%. And I'm looking for a few people that want to make big money. And I thought about you. It's going to cost you $600 for inventory and $160 a month to remain active. Is this something you'd be interested in doing with me? I mean, that is the conversation. So it's just how many times can you repeat that story during the course of a day, during the course of a week, during the course of a month? And, you know, if somebody says, hey, you know, I'd like to try some coffee. Absolutely. Yeah, send them a couple of sticks. You know, hey, get it. When you get it, let's talk about how to take it. Make sure you do it the right way. And then, you know, then it's just a matter of, hey, you know, you gotta talk about the other things. You know, hey, my buddy Chuck, I work with, is making $40,000 a month after his 7th month. It made almost $250,000 in his first year. Rick was making $9,000 a month in May of 2018, and a year later, his monthly income was $128,000. Come on, I mean, that's the kind of story that is very compelling, you know, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, right? So it really is just a matter of, you know, building an organization is nothing but numbers, right? It's just, you know, numbers and numbers and numbers, but going through the process of putting those numbers on the board is another thing. Again, it starts with the conversation. It, you know, then moves into the next phase, which is, you know, the connection, right? The three-way to one of us, to myself, to Mitch, to Dell, to Marianne, to whomever, right? And, you know, starting to expand, make that vision of that new person a little bit larger than just talking with you. We're going to expand their vision a little bit by letting them talk to some other people and getting their, so, you know, I just want to be real clear. We're not looking for customers, right? I mean, customers are a great thing, and we'll get plenty of customers as we move along. I mean, if we don't have any choice and you run into a person and, you know, that's what they want to do, then that's great. I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time with them, because what you're really looking for are business builders, someone that's interested in changing their life, no matter where in the world they happen to be. So if, I love that. I mean, if they knew how to do it already, they would have already done it. Those people that are looking to change their life. So, you know, again, the 6-day experience, I'm not going to go into a lot of training, you know, from this point forward on selling $20 packages of product, because I just think that is, you know, kind of a waste of time, quite frankly. Now, you know, if you're at a fair, or you're at some kind of an event or something, you know, that certainly, you know, could work, but it's not the first thing. I mean, you know, so many of these large events, these fairs, these conventions that I've seen people go to, they spend a lot of time in preparation. They spend a lot of time, you know, gathering up leads, and then it really doesn't, you know, manifest into anything. I found that it's been better off for me to go around talking to the people that are, you know, vendors at that event and collecting all of those cards, because they're the entrepreneurs, right? The other people are just coming to get something for free. So, you know, collect the entrepreneurs and work that market, because that really is a much, much, much better market. And you can get in for free. You don't have to buy a table and a booth and all the rest of those things. So anyway, you know, the three who get three. Now, you know, I certainly want to preface this with saying that I'm not encouraging you to just get 3. I mean, 3 is a great number, but, you know, it's just your first 3, right? And then your next 3, and then your next 3, and then your next 3. I mean, we should be recruiting all the time, as many people as we can possibly talk to and take through the process. But your first 3 people that you enroll with a business builder package makes up your foundation team of your legacy qualification. And why is that important? It's important because there's another $100, right? There's a legacy bonus, and it happens on the fourth person, from the fourth on. So let's just pretend here for a second, you've got your legacy foundation team already taken care of, whoever that happens to be. And quite frankly, I don't care. I mean, it's the quicker you can get that out of the way, the better, because then you're going to start making some significant money. Because here's what happens. Let's just say that this is number 4, 5, and 6. These are your next three, right? Your first three are done. These are your next three. You're going to earn $300. You're going to earn a $100 fast start bonus for each of these business builder packages. You're going to cycle one time, and you're going to get paid $300 legacy bonus. But here's what's interesting. When those three put in their three, right? Now you've got 9. There's $900 that spins off in legacy bonus. And that's where the money is as you're starting to ramp this whole thing up. Yeah, your cycle bonus is going to continue. Obviously, you don't have any fast start bonuses here because they picked up the fast start bonuses, right? So they pick up the fast start bonuses. That was their foundation team, right? This is your number 4, 5, and here's your number 6. And these are their first three. So you're going to get the first three of the first three of the first three of the first three to infinity, basically. And, you know, again, in a perfect world and with no attrition and everybody going on 100 BV, you know, loyalty purchase the following month, this is the kind of numbers that would the comp plan would spin out. You know, 1,098 cycles, about 22 grand. But look at this, $218,000 in legacy bonuses because you've got 2,187 people joining your team, and it's all about 3, right? How quickly can you put 3 people into the business? Let's get your foundation team out of the way as quickly as possible. So there's a sense of urgency to get that done so that you can get to the legacy bonus, right? So you can get to the legacy bonus. So I would have that conversation with all of your people as quickly as possible, and you may have already done that. So, you know, again, you know, if there was a chance that a $600 investment in working 10 to 12 hours a week part-time over the next 3 to 5 years would produce could produce a 6 or 7 figure residual income, is that something you'd be interested in doing? You know, again, it's just those closing questions that you're going to continue to ask people as you're taking them through the process. And it really is about all-out massive action. Right now, I mean, I can't even emphasize how critical it is because of the timing where we're at in the growth stage of the company. You know, you want to build as many people into your organization as you possibly can before we start entering the first quarter of 2020. I mean, because, you know, again, as we ramp up and as we run up these numbers, you want to have a huge, huge organization. So, oh, here's what I would do. Action steps. I mean, I always like to try to leave things with action steps. You know, call 10 people on Monday and ask them a question. I found a great way for us to make money together. Blank, blank, blank. Fill in the rest of it. You already know what to say. Invite all of them to the Zoom tomorrow evening at 8:30, you know, and be on there with them, right? Hey, there's something special that's going to be happening. It's not one of these things that, oh, hey, don't worry about it, it'll happen again. No, you got to, again, sense of urgency and fear of loss, right? So, hey, there's something special that's happening tomorrow at 8:30. Let's get on the Zoom together and we'll get to see one another. We'll get all the information, just all the information I've been talking to you about Valentis, and then we can talk afterwards. So get them on the Zoom. There's the meeting code, you know, get them on the Zoom. And again, just keep it informational, exciting. You know, again, it's people can, I mean, they know how strongly you believe in something if you're excited, right? And if you won't take no for an answer. I mean, it's just, I love it when people try to recruit me, right? And because they're just, I'm not recruitable. I mean, I don't tell them that. I always welcome everybody to send me anything. I mean, they might, you know, pitch me on the phone. Hey, send me whatever you got. Let's talk again. You know, I mean, I'm always, you know, why do I do that? So I can continue to build the list, because I know the deal that they're pitching is probably slim to none, right? I mean, all I got to do is take a look at it, and I don't like to rain on anybody's parade, but I go, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Have you thought about this? And, you know, start to plant a few seeds in there, and then, you know, tell them a little bit about us. So there's somebody in the same industry, the same maybe wants and desires for, you know, financial gain or time freedom, you know, a gain. And so great prospect, right? So accept all of those incoming phone calls. So guys, that's about all I've got for this evening. You know, it's again, this is not rocket science. You know, I continue to say that it's a simple business, but it's not easy, right? It's easier to quit than it is to continue, and but you just got to persevere, because if everybody were to do it, you know, which everybody could, but they won't. And I love Mitch's reasoning there. You know, the reason the company can pay so much money to people that do it is because most people don't do it. and that's true, right? I mean, because in a binary, we're getting credited for all of those. And, you know, those other people have got the credit there as well, and they can build their other leg, and then we would be paying way more out than actually what we collect. I mean, there's a stopgap in there, but that's for another conversation. But you know, but that is the truth. I mean, 80% of the people do pretty much nothing, and the other 20% do the 80% of the business. So concentrate and work with all the people where you're really not needed. Let me rephrase that again. Work where you're not needed. What I mean by that is work with your diamond groups, work with the people that are working, right? And work with the willing. So don't try to push dead wood. Don't try to convince. Don't try to resuscitate and breathe life into people that are absolutely dead. It's easier to give birth than it is to raise the dead. So, you know, just do things, you know, like you should, right? Be careful with your time, and you won't be as frustrated with, you know, the results. You just have to understand that most people won't do anything, and that's just human nature. So don't count on all of them doing something. So it always surprises me when somebody does do something. So it's a great surprise. So hey guys, it's always great to be with you on a Sunday night. It's 9:30. So what I'm going to do is shut down the recording. We're going to open it up, and I'll stop that.